Gadriel let her hand drift through the dry air, and the desert wind seemed to obey. Threads of shimmering light trailed behind her fingers, weaving themselves into angular letters of a language long dead on this world. The lines carved themselves across the sky, slow and purposeful, until they formed a single enormous sigil that hung in midair like a suspended tapestry. With another flick, the sigil unlatched itself, folding and rearranging until its bright filaments became the faint outline of a doorway, its edge glowing with the white heat of a furnace. She nodded to Arthur and stepped aside. "Go," she urged. Arthur approached. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, he felt the temperature change, an oppressive warmth so intense it stole the breath from his lungs and made the world sway. Beyond the doorway spread a small forest, impossibly green and shadowed, the trunks and leaves somehow untouched by the sand that rimmed its edge. Arthur looked at Merylin, baffled. What is a forest doing out here in the desert? Merylin's eyes crinkled with the ghost of a smile. "Because, lad, it's a magical one." They entered the trees, swallowed the heat, and with that swallowing came a voice like bark scraping stone. "No man may enter this dwelling place." Before the echo could finish, Merylin cut in, amused and annoyed at once. "We are not men, and neither are you. You troublesome thief, I'd wager you're half beast and half something older, stubbornness at your core." Something shifted in the brush, a sliver of movement, then a face peering between leaves. A figure stepped forward, small and wiry at first, then drawing closer until the full measure of him was revealed. Goat legs, curling horns, a shadow of mirth and menace in his eyes. "Pan." "Pan?" Merylin breathed, incredulous. "Is that really you?" The satyr's gaze flicked from Merylin to Arthur. He paused, a breath caught like a key turning, then smiled as if seeing an old, inevitable joke. "Only one would know those things about me." He shuffled closer to Arthur and crouched to get a better look. "Curious, eh? It's you, isn't it? You've come back." When he stepped into the light, the others could see what legends had spoken of. The half-man, half-goat of the old songs, nimble, ancient, and unmistakably other. All three, Arthur, Merylin, and Gadriel, exhaled together at the sight. "So the prophecy has come true," Pan whispered, reverent. "Then you must be the spirit of the princess returned." He regarded Gadriel and Merylin with wide, gleaming eyes. "And you, living shadow in a human shell, and you," he said to Arthur, voice softened, "the chosen one reborn. A second chance to set things right." Arthur shifted under the weight of the words. He hadn't thought of prophecies, he hadn't thought of destiny. "We're not here for treasure," Gadriel said blunt. Pan blinked, offended. "Then what?" "That boy." He gestured to Arthur flippantly. "You intend to take him instead." Merylin's baritone cut through Pan's indignation. "He's come to take the test. Stop wriggling from it." Pan huffed, conceding with a flourish of his hands. The brush before them drew aside on its own, revealing a hidden glade at its center set into a pillar of stone. A sword's hilt glinted with a cold and terrible promise. The air folded over the blade like a sheet of smoke, and from that smoke a wizened book drifted into being. It opened without hands, pages fanning until an image froze in the mind of anyone who looked. A man in armor, blade pointed to the heavens. The book slammed shut as if satisfied. Arthur approached the sword. 3 gems, small, pulsing with inner light, appeared in a slow orbit. One settled against his left hand, another at his right, and the third on his brow. He rose inexplicably, 2 feet off the ground. Merylin and Gadriel exchanged alarmed looks. Pan's face held something like wonder. "I don't know," Pan said at last, voice small. "This has only happened twice in 300 million years." The stones flew from Arthur like birds and lodged in the sword's hilt. Light burst from between the trees, a blade of sunlight that pierced clouds and forest alike. Arthur reached, closed his hand around the hilt, and pulled. The metal rang against stone with a clear, bright clang that seemed to stitch together the world. Water ran from the pedestal seams as if the stone had been holding its breath. the forest sighed. The environment around Arthur pulsed with a living heartbeat, as if acknowledging the sword as kin. He raised the blade above his head. The weight was not a weight, but a rightness. "Does this mean I passed?" he asked, breathless. Merylin the gal stared. Pan's expression was one of serene completion. The sort of peace that follows an old worry finally unclenched. Merylin's long face darkened into thought. The council must know at once. Pan recoiled. "You know the council. You know how unforgiving they can be."
Gadriel's laugh was edged. "You've been here since the world was young. You remember what happened the last time the sword was drawn?" "Yes," Merylin agreed quietly, but the artifacts deemed him worthy. The forest fell silent. It wasn't quiet like a field at dusk. It was a pressing absence, as if the world had paused to listen. Pan's ears twitched. "Shh. Do you hear that?" he whispered. The hair on Merylin's neck rose. Gadriel's hand tightened on a faint shimmer of energy at her hip. "Go now," she said. "Arthur, take the sword, run." They fled the glade, Merylin nearly dragging Arthur by the shirt. Gadriel and Pan followed, tripping over roots, boots scuffing the otherworldly grass. They burst from the forest into the desert's glare and found a wound in the air itself. Where the gateway had been, reality had been punched through. A hole spat open like a mouth. Out of that hole stepped a knight, tall, cloaked in black plate that drank light, a helm with no face but for a slit of darkness. He moved as if every step despaired the ground beneath him. Gadriel went white. "Oh, my mother goddess of the white oak!" "It's him," she cried. "Who?" Merylin shouted without turning. Gadriel didn't look back. The Dark One. They ran faster. The knight advanced without haste, and with each heavy footfall the sand seemed to harden under his weight. Gadriel slammed her palm to the air and tried to reconstruct the doorway behind them. A desperate braid of magic. The dark knight hammered toward the newly forming gateway, his armor chipping at the woven light. Pan burst through first, then Arthur, then Merylin. Gadriel held the portal open with the last of her strength, whispering to Arthur as he stumbled through, breath burning and heart hammering. "If anything comes after you," she said, voice brittle, "tell my sister. I forgive her." The portal shimmered shut. For a moment a sound like 1,000 folded sheets collapsed on itself, and the other side fell silent. Pan stood in the new space, staring at the place where the desert had been, and said only, "Peculiar." Arthur grabbed Pan as he turned to him. Why did she do that? Did she live? Pan's satyr face was unreadable, half smile and half grimace. The Dark One is known for many things. Lad mercy isn't usually one of them. Arthur looked into the closed portal, the sword heavy and humbling at his side, and felt something old and inevitable settling onto his shoulders around them. The desert sang with heat and the distant whisper of a forest that had once again folded itself away. Ahead lay an uncertain road, a council that might condemn, an enemy that now knew where they had been, and a prophecy that had finally found its first actor. And behind them, in a tomb of wind and sand, something that had loved Gadriel had not come through. The world had shifted, the test was past, the reckoning, it seemed, had only begun.